Elizabeth Bennet, with a mind full of tumult and a heart gripped by an unusual pragmatism, surprised her family by accepting Mr. Collins's proposal. The shock sent ripples through the Bennet household. Her mother was ecstatic, believing the family's future secured, while her father retreated further into the refuge of his library, disappointed in what he perceived as Elizabeth's uncharacteristic decision. Jane Bennet, ever the gentle sister, approached Elizabeth with concern. "Lizzie, are you certain this is what you wish? Mr. Collins is... well, he is Mr. Collins." Elizabeth smiled wryly. "Jane, I see no other option that provides immediate security for our family. With the estate entailed away from the female line, we must be practical. I shall adapt and ensure our family's standing." The weeks leading to the wedding were filled with a strange blend of merriment and melancholy. Charlotte Lucas, Elizabeth's dearest friend, viewed the engagement with a mixture of astonishment and silent grief, for she had hoped to secure Mr. Collins for herself as a means of independence. On the day of the wedding, Elizabeth stood beside Mr. Collins, her expression serene yet distant. Lady Catherine de Bourgh, who had approved the match with condescending generosity, attended the ceremony, bestowing upon the couple gifts and admonitions in equal measure. Life at Hunsford was, as Elizabeth had anticipated, a routine of mediocrity and obsequiousness. Mr. Collins was unerringly devoted to Lady Catherine, and Elizabeth found herself playing the part of a clergyman's wife with an ease that surprised her. She managed the parish and her husband's expectations with a detached efficiency. Months passed, and Elizabeth received a letter from Jane. The contents shook her composure. Jane wrote of Mr. Bingley's prolonged absence and her fading hopes for his affection. Elizabeth felt a pang of sorrow, knowing her own choice had indirectly tethered Jane to her fate at Longbourn. When Elizabeth met Charlotte, now Mrs. Lucas, the unspoken words between them were heavy with regret and understanding. Charlotte's practical view of marriage mirrored Elizabeth's own resigned acceptance, and the two found solace in their shared pragmatism. The most poignant change came with Mr. Darcy's absence. Elizabeth heard little of him, only brief mentions from Mr. Collins, who spoke of Darcy with unwitting resentment. Elizabeth occasionally wondered about the proud man from Derbyshire, especially when she walked the grounds of Rosings and observed the distant hills that bordered Pemberley. Then, unexpectedly, Lady Catherine brought Mr. Darcy to Rosings during one of Elizabeth's more reflective afternoons. The meeting was fraught with unspoken emotion. Darcy's eyes searched Elizabeth's face for the lively wit he had once admired, but found instead a resigned calm. "Mrs. Collins," Darcy began, his voice betraying a hint of sorrow, "I must confess your acceptance of Mr. Collins was unexpected." Elizabeth met his gaze, her heart tightening. "Mr. Darcy, we all must make our sacrifices to duty and propriety. I am well enough." Darcy nodded, his expression unreadable. "And yet, I cannot help but mourn the loss of what might have been. Not just for myself, but for you, Elizabeth." As he spoke her name, Elizabeth felt a familiar stir within her, a remnant of the spirited woman she once was. "Mr. Darcy, do not distress yourself on my account. I am content." Their parting was bittersweet, with each carrying the weight of unfulfilled futures. In the years that followed, Elizabeth dutifully performed her roles, sister, wife, and aunt to the children Jane bore to a local squire after Mr. Bingley married another. Elizabeth's visits to Longbourn were frequent, her support unwavering as the Bennet family navigated the trials of time. Her life was not unhappy, filled with small comforts and duties, but occasionally, in the quiet of the evening, she allowed herself to dream of a different life, a life filled with the love and respect of a man who had once offered her his heart, and whom she had in another life loved back.